So basically we have seen that how the smaller components are connected in a general purpose computer system and how a instruction is executed. Now if you watch the functionality of the components carefully, you see uh, we can categorize them, or we can make a cluster depends on their functionality. For example, you see there are some components which is involved in part of fetching the instruction in the at the time of executing an instruction, right? And after that there is some part which is involved for decoding the instruction so that the processor can understand that how the how the I mean, what is the meaning of the instruction. And after decoding there is a huge part which is involved in the uh, in executing the instructions, right? And after that, after executing the instruction, the result may need to store in some memory location. It is not always true that after result, after executing some result in, I mean, some operation in ALU, the result always will get stored in the accumulator or maybe in other registers. It may store outside the processing unit, that is in the RAM. So you can just take a imaginary line in between the processor and the memory, so that you can realize that this memory part is outside the processor part, actual processing part. Okay, so that means if I write down the name of the stages or the components, the black box actually, which represents some parts of the some components of the whole system. One, it can be written as the component number 1 can be written as instruction fetch unit. Right, and some maybe we can name them as F. The second component that I can write is instruction decode unit, right? We can name it as D. Then 3, we can say that instruction execution unit. As E. And fourth component that I can write, that instruction write back unit, for writing the result in the memory, say W. So these are the 4 components that can be, overall as a black box we can imagine, and somehow they are connected in the system so that our instruction is executed. So if you, with respect to timing, which particular unit is used at which point of time, if you make them order from left to right, we all know, we can easily understand that first F will come, then D, then E, and then W. So it will look something like, I will have a black box which is representing the instruction fetch unit, something like this, and then I will have another black box that is representing instruction decode unit, say D, and then I will have another black box that is representing the set of components present in the for executing, that is execution unit, and then the sum of the components which is actually responsible for writing the result in the memory, right? Now if you connect them directly, it's going to it's not going to work properly. It may not going to work properly. What is the reason? Because you cannot guarantee every time that this fetch unit, decode unit, execution unit, write back unit all works for every instruction with similar amount of time. I mean, maybe for a particular instruction, fetch unit can take 3 milliseconds to complete its job, and the decode unit may take 5 milliseconds to complete its job. Right. Now, if I just try to imagine a situation, if it happens that decode unit is busy with the instruction, at the same time, if the fetch unit works, starts completing job, what fetch unit try to do? Fetch unit try to send some instruction over to the decode unit. So that means it will be a clash within the decode units because decode unit is already busy with some instruction. But this situation will never occur if I assume that there is no dependency. I mean, when the decode unit is busy, then nobody is working. If I assume, for example, if I draw a common direct line over here in this way, okay, and if I assume that for an instruction 1, fetch will done, then decode will done, then execution will done, then result will be written back in the memory, and then fetching of instruction 2 will start, then there is no issue. So if I represent this situation with respect to a diagram, with respect to a table, how it will look like, let's see. So suppose the table looks something like this. So assume that we have we are representing the timing in the x-axis, and in y-axis we are representing the stages or the components, whatever you can consider. Okay, so this is the row are representing the stages. That means I have to draw 4 rows. This is fetch, then decode, then execute, then write back. And if I draw them, if I draw the timing something like this, so assume that so 1 clock cycle 1, clock cycle 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Suppose up to 16 let's take. Okay. So what is representing this particular table? That with respect to the timing, which fetch or which stage is busy at which point of time, as simple as that. Okay, and suppose I have 4 instructions, I1 followed by I2 followed by I3 followed by I4. These are the 4 instructions. Any 4 instructions, forget about any dependency in between them. Maybe this is x equal to 10, then it is a equal to b plus c, and this is y equal to 50 and something like that. Okay, so at the first clock cycle, fetch of the instruction 1 will work, and how we represent this? We represent by F1. It means that's fetch of instruction 1. Okay. Then after this, what will happen? After completion of the fetch instruction, if I assume for time being each and every stage 1 clock cycle to complete its job, then after fetching the instruction 1, the instruction 1 will be decoded. So that means in the second clock cycle, decoding of instruction 1 will start, right? Then in the third clock cycle, execution of the instruction 1 will start, and in the fourth clock cycle, write back of the instruction 1 will start, and it will come out from the pipe after writing back the result, right? Now you see in the write back stage, basically we write the result from the processing unit to the memory unit. Okay, now this the different type of operations are there. The operations are not basically I have mentioned, but there is some operations which involves the write operation to the memory for storing the result. Now, suppose after writing the result in the memory for the instruction 1, what will happen? As we have seen from this particular diagram, after writing the instruction 1, the fetching of instruction 2 will start. So that means from the 5th clock cycle, this F2 will start. Right. In the 6th clock cycle, so after F2, D2 will start in the 6th clock cycle, and then in the 7th clock cycle, say E2 will start, and then naturally W2 will start as we have seen for the previous case, and it will come out from the pipe, and then the F3 can be started, right? And I hope now you can easily realize the pattern from this example. So W3, and it will come out from the pipe, and then again say from 13th clock cycle F4 will start, then D4, and then E4, and then 16 it will W4, right, and it will come out from the pipe. So now you see, if you, this is what we call reservation table. I'm sorry. What reservation table reflects? Reservation table reflects the use of different stages at different point of time cycle, right? So you can, from this reservation table, you can easily understand at which point of time the fetch stage is busy. For example, you can say from this table that fetch stage is busy in first clock cycle, then it is free for 3 clock cycles, then again it is busy for 1 clock cycle, again it is free for 3 clock cycles, and go on. And actually in this particular situation, the behavior of all the stages something like this, that it started decoding in the 2nd clock cycle, that's why first time it was free, and then it is again free for 3 clock cycles, and then the decode is busy for 1 clock cycle, and again free for 3, something like this. Now from this reservation table we can realize a problem, that is we are keeping some stages, actually most of the stages free at some point of time at a particular clock cycle. For example, if you think about the E part, okay, the E part, something like this, free. So if you take any clock cycle, for example, say clock cycle number 4, in the clock cycle number 4 you see most of the stages are free, even it is same for all others. You see, in each and every clock cycle only one stage is busy and other stages are free, and keeping free a particular clock cycle, particular stage, doesn't make a computer system faster, because you are wasting that particular time for that particular stage. So here the question comes that how we can make the system faster by utilizing the time that I am wasting by keeping the stages free in the intermediate time. And from this point of time the concept of pipeline came. So what the concept of pipeline is suggesting? Concept of pipeline is suggesting that don't when the decode is busy with some instruction, don't keep the fetch stage free. Use the fetch stage for fetching the next instruction and keep it already fetched. So that means if I redraw the diagram, if I redraw the diagram that I have just shown over here, okay, so how the modified diagram will look like? I will obviously have the 4 stages: F, D, E and W. Now what we are suggesting, that when decode stage is busy with, say, decoding instruction 1, at that time don't keep this fetch stage free as I have done over here. Use this fetch stage for fetching instruction 2. Now since we have assumed that each and every stage is taking same amount of time, that means when fetch stage will fetch the instruction 2, decode stage will decode at that same point of time. Decoding of instruction 1 will get complete. So what will happen? The instruction 1 will move forward to the execution part, and at that same time the instruction 2 from fetch stage will move forward to decode stage, and at the same time instruction 3 will come for fetching. Something like this. But it is not true always. You cannot guarantee that for a particular instruction, fetch and decode stage and execution and write back stage, all the stages will take equal amount of time, right? And that is why we need something to restrict for some time for transferring data from one stage to another stage. What I mean to say is that suppose fetch stage completed instruction within 5 milliseconds, but decode stage required 10 milliseconds to decode the previous instruction. So if I don't keep any gate in between them, then what will happen? After fetching the instruction 2, this will be passed within the decode stage, but decode stage is already busy at that moment. So that means what will happen? It will have a chaos within the decode stage, which I don't want. As a designer, we don't want. And that's why we will put what you can say a buffer in between each and every stages. What is the purpose of this buffer? This buffer is basically, you can assume as something like a flip-flop or a register. Register is made of flip-flop, so basically flip-flop, which stores temporarily the output of the previous stage and keep it storing until a particular timing completed. For example, if I assume that decode stage take 10 seconds for decoding, that means after 10 clock cycles, this gate should open so that whatever was output from previous fetch stage can go in the decode stage. Something like this. And this is the same situation for the other parts also. And now how I can regularly activate after certain amount of time. And that is why actually what you can say, we can have a sort of what you can say a common clock signal, which will be something like this. Now what is the length of this? It will depend upon the maximum time that is required for operation in among these 4 stages. So naturally there will be no clash. However, if I design the system something like this is my buffer, right? This is my buffer. So if I design my system something like this, let's see how it will reflect on the reservation table. Let's draw the reservation table again. So I will have in the x-axis again we have timing, and there are certain time slots I require to realize that how much time is required to get those four outputs. If I assume the same situation that I have four instructions and I want to execute them. Now in this pipeline situation, why? Let's see how much time I require. This is my fetch, this is decode, this is execute, this is write back. Okay, and this is say timing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, suppose. So, and we have seen that obviously I have four instructions, I1 followed by I2 followed by I3. The same situation I am arising, but with a different architecture. With an architecture something like this, right? So, obviously in the first clock cycle it will start with fetching instruction 1 F1, and in the second clock cycle after fetching instruction 1 it will start decoded. Fine. Now here I have the change. In previous case I have assumed that when decoding of instruction 1 is doing, I mean fetching will not start until write back of instruction 1 completed. But with respect to the current or updated version of the diagram, we have seen that I can start fetching the next instruction when I am decoding the current instruction. So that means when decoding of instruction 1 is happening at second clock cycle, I can start fetching 2. Right. Similarly, if we consider execution part, so the execution of instruction 1 has started after some time, and at that time naturally fetch of the decode operation, I mean instruction 2 will complete and decode will start, and at the same time you can utilize this fetch stage by fetching instruction 3. Similarly, at 4th clock cycle write back of instruction 1 will start, at the same time execution of instruction 2 will start, at the same time decode of instruction 3 will start, at the same time fetching of instruction 4 will start. And in the 4th clock cycle this instruction 1 will come out from the pipe, from the stage. After at the 5th clock cycle W2 will happen, then E3, and then D4, and in the 5th clock cycle the output of instruction 2 will come out, then W3 and E4. So in the 6th clock cycle third instruction will come, and in the 7th clock cycle the 4th instruction will come out. So just try to realize the difference present in this reservation table of the updated diagram and the previous diagram. Just if you take a numerical difference, here it needs 16 clock cycles to complete these 4 operations, but here I require only 7 clock cycles. So numerically also we can realize that we can actually in this situation, in this way actually with only 4 instructions I can basically save 9 clock cycles, right? And this is the benefit of this particular technique. Now just assume a situation, let's draw the diagram again, Okay, let's draw the diagram again in a very simple way. Okay, so I have the fetch stage, and just assume that we have the flip flop over here. Just assume it. I'm just drawing the main part of the whole system, and then write back, obviously. So if you think I have this one, and if you try to cover in a in something, within something, I can draw something like this, a situation something like this, that so assume that we have a pipe, and within the pipe we have this particular 4 stages, and there is one person who is standing here, who is inserting some instruction, and there is one more person standing here who is watching the output. Okay, so what this person will find out? This person will find out only the output. This person doesn't have any idea about how this is happening within the whole problem. So that means this pipe is basically an abstraction, right? Abstraction to the users. For example, you have a computer in your home. Now when you write a program or execute a program, you don't have any idea that what exactly steps you are following. But if you dive into the machine as an engineer point of view, you will see you have a situation something like this happening within your machine. And that is why the strategy that I am following over here is called pipeline. So this is the concept of a pipeline of a system, but this pipeline is nothing but it's a very abstraction concept, which basically black box overview of the actual system we have in the system, something like this. So you can try to realize the concept of pipeline with respect to this situation.